On February 19, 2013, the Los Angeles Police Department released a piece of surveillance footage to the public. It was 4 minutes long. In it, a young woman steps into a hotel elevator, and what she does next has never been fully explained. She presses every button on the panel. She steps out, looks both ways down an empty hallway, then steps back in. She waves her hands. She hides in the corner of the elevator as if someone, or something, is outside. The doors open and close multiple times. She never leaves the frame. 19 days later, guests at the same hotel complained about the water pressure and the taste of the water coming from their taps. When maintenance staff finally climbed up to the hotel's rooftop water tanks to investigate, they found her. This is the story of Elisa Lam, in the hotel with a body count that started long before she ever checked in. Elisa Lam was 21 years old, a student from Vancouver, Canada, traveling alone down the West Coast. She kept a public blog where she wrote openly about her excitement for the trip, her love of literature, and, candidly, her ongoing struggle with bipolar disorder. Friends and family who read her posts in the weeks before her death describe her as reflective, funny, and looking forward to the future. She had plans. She was supposed to check out of her Los Angeles hotel and continue on to Santa Cruz to meet friends. She never made that trip. Elisa was staying at the Cecil Hotel, a budget hotel in downtown Los Angeles's Skid Row district. A building we'll come back to because its history is its own story. On January 31st, 2013, staff at the hotel noticed she hadn't checked out and her room hadn't been touched in days. Her family, unable to reach her, reported her missing. When hotel staff and police searched her room, they found her belongings largely undisturbed. Her passport, her medication, her personal effects, all left behind. There was no sign of forced entry, no sign of a struggle. She had simply vanished somewhere inside a building with dozens of rooms, cameras, and staff. Then the LAPD released the elevator footage, hoping the public could help identify what was happening to her in her final confirmed moments on camera. The footage is genuinely strange to watch, and it's worth understanding exactly what it shows and what it doesn't. Elisa enters the elevator alone. She presses several floor buttons in quick succession, more than she'd need for a single destination. She steps out into the hallway, glancing in both directions, before stepping back inside. Her hand gestures are erratic. At one point, she appears to shrink into the corner of the elevator car, as though trying to avoid being seen by someone outside the frame. The elevator doors open and close repeatedly, but Elisa never steps out for good, and no one else ever appears in the frame with her. Two competing explanations emerge almost immediately. The first, this was a psychotic or manic episode. Elisa's own writing confirms she lived with bipolar disorder, and behavior like erratic movement, disorientation, and pressing multiple buttons can be consistent with an acute psychiatric episode, particularly one triggered or worsened by a missed dose of medication, which investigators later noted was found unused in her room. The second theory, which spread rapidly online, that she was reacting to someone or something outside the elevator, out of frame, that her fear was directed at a real, present threat, not an internal one. This theory gained enormous traction on forums and true crime communities, partly because the footage does look, to an untrained eye, like someone hiding from a person rather than a hallucination. We'll come back to which explanation the investigation ultimately supported. But first, where she ended up. For 19 days, no one knew what had happened to Elisa Lam. The elevator footage went viral. Amateur investigators combed the hotel's public livestream footage frame by frame, and her disappearance became a genuine internet phenomenon. Then on February 19th, guests began complaining that the water from their taps was black, foul tasting, and running at low pressure. Maintenance staff climbed to the roof to check the hotel's 4 water storage tanks. Cylindrical tanks about 8 feet tall, with lids requiring real effort to lift. Tanks that were not part of any daily hotel routine to check. Inside one of them, they found Elisa Lam's body. She was found naked, and the tank's heavy lid was back in place. This detail alone made the case immediately controversial. The tanks were difficult to access, difficult to open, and difficult to close again from the inside. Details that fueled theories she could not have gotten in there alone. To understand why this case captured public imagination the way it did, you have to understand the building itself. The Cecil Hotel has one of the most disturbing guest histories of any hotel in America. Richard Ramirez, the serial killer known as the Night Stalker, stayed at the Cecil during his 1985 killing spree, reportedly walking in each night covered in blood without drawing suspicion from staff. Jack Unterweger, an Austrian journalist and convicted murderer, stayed at the Cecil in 1991, while allegedly killing several sex workers in the surrounding neighborhood. The hotel has also been linked to multiple suicides over the decades, including guests who jumped from upper floor windows onto the street below. By the time Elisa Lam checked in, the Cecil already carried a reputation among locals, among true crime communities, as one of the most troubled buildings in Los Angeles. Her death didn't create that reputation, it confirmed it for an entire new generation online. The Los Angeles County coroner ultimately ruled Elisa Lam's death an accidental drowning, with bipolar disorder listed as a significant contributing factor. The theory investigators settled on: during an acute manic or psychotic episode, off her medication, Elisa climbed to the roof, which was accessible through a door investigators found should have been alarmed, but wasn't functioning correctly at the time. Climbed into an open tank and was unable to get back out. It's the explanation that accounts for the physical evidence. It does not, for many, account for the emotional weight of the footage. A young woman who looks to most people watching like she's hiding from someone. That gap between an official, evidence-based conclusion and a viewer's gut reaction to 4 minutes of grainy security footage is exactly why this case has never fully faded. The building was demolished for the public record in the sense that the Cecil was later renovated and rebranded, but the footage and the questions around it never really went away. Elisa Lam was a daughter, a sister, a student with a blog full of half-finished stories and travel excitement. For a while before anyone knew her name attached to a real person, she was just the girl in the elevator, a piece of viral footage endlessly analyzed by strangers who never knew her. Somewhere between the psychiatric explanation the evidence supports and the fear so many people see on her face in that footage is a young woman who, whatever was actually happening to her in that hallway, was genuinely afraid. Maybe the most disturbing part of this case isn't what happened to her. It's how long it took anyone to notice she was gone. In a hotel with dozens of guests, cameras in every hallway, and staff walking past her door every single day.